Uh, One of the best known secrets is if you are reading about something in economic times today, probably that opportunity is already done, right? Because by the time it comes to economic times, the founders have already spent 5, 10, 15 years of sweat and blood to be on the economic times. So as I'll paraphrase a great ice hockey player, Wayne Gretzky, who said, "Good players go where the ball is. Great players go where the ball is going to be." Right. So if you actually are like football, or if you actually like any sort of a sport like that, you'll see the great players, the Messis, the Ronaldos, already there where the ball is going to be. Right. They're not following the ball. They actually know what is going to happen. And this is exactly how you become a successful entrepreneur. Or one of the things you have to do is to identify opportunities early. The second thing is like, okay, fine, you read in economic times, okay, this food delivery app is done, or this app is done, I had the same idea. It doesn't matter because every day we have a lot of opportunities. Every day, every hour of the day, there are opportunities which are cropping up, but which you have to keep a lookout for. So let's just see some of the major revolutions which have happened in the world, right? So there was the Industrial Revolution, where a lot of work was done by hand, but then with the Industrial Revolution, the invention of steam-based engines, there were power looms, textile industries, railroads. Then the next wave of revolution was transportation, when horse carriages were replaced by cars, with the foresight of people like Henry Ford, who said, why not make an assembly line and create cheap cars? And as Henry Ford famously said, if I had asked my customers what they want, they would have said, I want a faster horse, not a car. So some of the revolutions, we don't know how they pan out because people do underestimate them in the beginning. Then we had the major semiconductor revolution, where we found out what a transistor is, we built these huge computers, and then we kept making them smaller and smaller. So actually the supercomputers in 1990s, the phone you carry in your pocket right now is much faster than that, has more memory than that. It's not probably 1,000 times or 1,000,000 times faster than that supercomputer in 90s. Then we had the internet revolution. During this revolution, very frankly, like all revolutions, people didn't know what will happen. And in the late 90s, there was this huge bubble of IT companies. People were selling pet food and they were being valued at $1 billion. But then all of them went bust. But the companies which remained actually provided a lot of value. Google, Yahoo to an extent, Amazon was born during that period, Facebook. All these companies are what happened because of the internet revolution. And the third wave of IT, which is happening right now. We also have some major mega trends. So how many of you have heard of 3D printing? Okay, can anyone tell me what it is? Anyone? Come on. Fair enough. So 3D printing is when you can print something using a printer, which is basically something like a current printer which you have, and you feed a design into it and it prints it. And it's going to be revolutionary because you're going to see a lot of spare parts, let's say for cars, you need not go to the dealership. You can print them at your home, have your mechanic fix them. And a lot of things like Internet of Things. Very soon, all the devices will be talking to each other. Your fridge will be talking to your phone, your AC, your refrigerator, all these things will be talking to each other. So let's say you leave your office, your phone knows through GPS that you've left your office. It will tell your AC that please get switched on so that by the time you reach home, it's already cool. And you do not reach into a home which is pretty hot and then you switch on the AC and then wait. Right? Let's move on to the next. So, I just wanted to put down a framework of how I see opportunities can be identified early. The way I see it is, if you can identify a mega trend and then marry it with a vertical. When I say vertical, it's like the industries, manufacturing, technology, advertising and marketing, and so on and so forth. You are able to capture billion-dollar markets. And this is exactly how it happened. So when advertising and internet got married, we had a Google. When e-commerce and retail got married, we had an Amazon. And very recently in India, we have Paytm, because people moved on to mobile phones. Paytm stands for pay through mobile, right? And then you have the finance industry, and with the demonetization, suddenly Paytm became a very, very hot company. In manufacturing sector, when we had the concept of an assembly line, where someone does something very well, we moved on to the transportation industry changed, like Ford, right? So what is the most important thing which I think is to be an entrepreneur, and which is not, which I think, Steve Jobs said it better, that I'm convinced that half of what separates the successful entrepreneurs from the non-successful ones is perseverance. It's not about giving up, because you will fail so many times, and every failure will seem like there's no tomorrow, but then you have to keep getting back up and keep getting back up. And those failures, how do you treat them? They can be monetary failures. So for example, one of the first business deals I did, so my client didn't pay. Okay, so I lost a lot of money. Now when you're an entrepreneur, you're always short of money. You always have commitments which you've made to others, and you don't get the money. So what happens is, how do you treat it? You can be very hard on yourself. But I believe in a concept of a university. Okay, I call it the university of experience. And all of us, all these losses, all these mistakes you make, are the fees you pay to the university of experience. So all of you are paying a fees here in Amity University and gaining a degree. And this is similarly some kind of a degree which University of Experience gives you, for which you have to keep paying the fees. If you guys, how many of you have watched the movie Martian? Martian. Very good. So in that movie, Matt Damon, who's Mark Watney, gets left on the planet Mars, and he has to do everything in his capacity to survive, right? And the best part is he keeps doing things, and at the end he says, when he's teaching the class, he says, at some point everything is going to go south of you. Everything is going to go south, and you're going to say that is it. This is how I end. How you can either accept that or move ahead and begin again. And you solve one problem and the next, and the next, and the next, till you succeed. So this is for me what entrepreneurship is all about. If you look at some of the greatest entrepreneurs, even Steve Jobs, he started Apple, he was thrown out of his own company, then he started Next and Pixar, and then he came back to Apple and built the biggest company ever. Just one more thing. We are now partnering with a lot of incubators, and we would like to partner with yours. And we offer a lot of value in terms of mentorship, infrastructure, technical knowledge, and all. I'm also part of TIE Lucknow, and TIE is having an event on the 3rd of February, where if you have an idea or if you already started something and you want to pitch to investors, you can do that. You have to have the passion to do something big. And you have to, the passion should be greater than any other thing which can affect you. I have suffered a lot financially, personally, in every way possible. But there's some fire which is burning. There's something which tells me in my mind, I have to do this today. Tomorrow I'll see. So the whole motivation part, I don't know whether like it's probably more psychology, but it comes probably from within. If you have a good team, you can motivate each other. That's another way to do it. And ultimately, it's about having the big vision. Okay. For example, I told you, Elon Musk wants to go to Mars. He almost became personally bankrupt. Even being a billionaire, he was almost bankrupt because he put everything in his company. But he has that passion and the vision that keeps him motivated. Right? Steve Jobs, he was suffering from cancer. He was pencil thin. But still he was working every day, 16 hours. So that's something probably that comes from within. It's something you love doing, and the motivation comes automatically. If the corollary is if you are not getting motivated with what you are doing, probably you should be doing something else.
Hello sir, I'm Hitesh Milani.
Hi.
सर यू वर्क इन्फोसिस फॉर 3 years. सर आपके माइंड में सर क्या आया कि सर आप लेफ्ट करो, आई वांट टू बी एंटरप्रेन्योर?
It's actually a very nice story. So Infosys, I was lucky to have a very good career. So within 8-9 months, I was sent to Australia, then to Europe and all these places. I had all the visas, all the work permits. I had an H1 visa, which is people get very desperate for, but very frankly, I got it easily. I was lucky actually. So I just called up my boss and I said, I want to meet you. And he said, okay, I wanted to meet you too. So the reason I was going to meet him was to resign. So I went to his office and he says, I just got married 3 months back. Okay, and the best part is he said, Anurag, there's this great project in Hawaii, which I want you to manage. You should fly out there. I said, I came here to resign. He said, are you nuts? This is a paid vacation for you. You just got married. That's the perfect place you got to go to. But I said, sir, I'm sorry. I have to do what I want to do. So probably there was always that thing in my mind since I was a kid that probably I'll work for 3-4 years and then start something of my own. So that was how it happened for me. But yes, you tend to get very comfortable in a job, and that is something, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you should avoid. Be getting comfortable. You should do a job. I always say you should do a job first and then become an entrepreneur. But I had to go through that. I'd be more interested in answering any questions you might have. So any one of you thinking of being an entrepreneur? So do you have any questions? If you want to discuss your idea or whatever you are doing.
So basically, I want to start up an animation company. Like Disney has its own place, I want to start up my kind of production house in India. Kind of Disney animation production house.
Yeah, that's a great thing, and thinking big is really awesome. And like any specific question related to that? So as I said, you should always think big, and I really like that. Because competing with Disney is really awesome thing. But then everyone starts small, right? No one knew Facebook will be such a big company. Microsoft never thought Google will threaten them, right? No one thought Apple will ever rise back again. But then this is how you start, and this is just by thinking big you are able to make a difference. Any other questions? Anything about business planning, strategy, how to get funded, which ideas to go for?
Is reading newspapers and stuff is enough, or getting updated regularly is enough? Or how should we work? We are just like, we are here to become graduated, we are graduated, right? So we just read newspapers and of course there is syllabus and newspapers and we get updated. So is it enough? Or we are supposed to work? So if we are supposed to work, then how? How we are supposed to work?
Okay, so just to answer your question, like you have to have a passion to be an entrepreneur. Right? It doesn't matter what idea you have. Most of the companies, whatever they started out with, it didn't turn out to be the eventual payoff. So just to give you an example of Twitter, Twitter was about playing videos. Okay. And then suddenly they hit out on the models where you can send 140 character text. So most of the things don't turn out eventually the way you imagine. And I can give you a lot of examples how companies which started in one way went about doing something else. But it's all about the passion of entrepreneurs. It's about doing something. It's making a difference in the world. All of us can get a degree and do a job. Particular jobs, making a product that people value. Just imagine what life would be without Facebook or WhatsApp, right? Very frankly, I cannot imagine how marriages were conducted without mobile phones. That was a long time ago. They used to happen, but now it's much easier. So it's all about making a difference. And one of the best examples I can tell you, Elon Musk. He's doing two great things. He's building an electric car, which is awesome, and he's thinking of populating Mars. So this is the kind of big thinking he has, and with the kind of passion he has, I'm pretty sure he'll be able to do it. And similar thing applies to everything.
What kids really do, like apart from studies, our post studies,
Start something. Start something. Anything which you want to do. So just, okay. So as I said, first you need to identify what you want to do. And the framework which I suggested is think of a mega trend, marry it with a vertical, and think what all can be done. Right? For example, let's take the example of Uber. You guys know about Uber? You press a button, a taxi comes. Previously, it was such a hassle to get a taxi, you had to bargain with the auto guys. That's in India. US had a different problem altogether. Taxis were very expensive, they didn't come and all this stuff. They were dirty. So this guy had an idea, why can't I just press a button and I get someone coming to my door? He married mobile, which has GPS now. So 20 years ago it was not possible, right? But today with mobile, which is a mega trend, and taxi industry, it became Uber is valued at what? $50 billion? So it became a huge idea. So probably start thinking in that framework, think of one of these ideas and start it. There's no better experience than starting. Okay? You all learn theory, but we don't end up using most of it. Any other questions? Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
So nowadays, everyone is planning. Those the one who want to be an entrepreneur is basically focusing on IT sector. So everyone is, aiming and focusing people who are related to IT or something. They want to start basically what you call a startup, which is associated with IT sector. Is there any chance without an IT sector startup?
Definitely. See, one of the things I really believe is to be contrarian. Okay, so when everyone is rushing towards one thing, it's always the person who's doing something different which works. Okay, so if you actually look at some of the examples of the big companies which have happened, right? Everyone was rushing after e-commerce, e-commerce, e-commerce. But some of the biggest companies which have come up are the companies like Paytm, right? Paytm is also into e-commerce, but it's majorly into payments. Now coming back to the second part about technology, India is such an amazing opportunity right now. What about farming? There's a lot to be done in farming. There's a lot to be done in education. There's a tremendous amount of work to be done in healthcare. Because India is like, see, a fraction in India is a few 100 million people, right? So that's the beauty about the market. You can go into any sector and it does not have to be IIT. I'll give you a good example. Narayan Hrudayalaya. You've heard about it?
No, sir.
So there's this doctor called Dr. Devi Shetty, and he was a heart surgeon, and he said, why don't I provide low-cost heart surgeries to everyone? Now he created something called Narayan Hrudayalaya, where he's built a chain of them, and they do thousands of surgeries every day for a very low cost. They're the cheapest cost surgery in the world right now. The most surgery by any chain in the world right now. They just had a $1 billion IPO. So that's something which is not technology related, right?
Sir, as my father says that half of Indian population live in villages or basically live in town, and that's from where I belong to. So he always says do something in future which caters their need. If you want to go big, first cater them, first satisfy their needs, and then become something what you want to be. So basically, as Patanjali did, they focused on people who actually, they are related to nature, who want to have something which is natural. So they did, because they became a great success. Patanjali is now one of the topmost FMCG company. So why basically all entrepreneurs are, focusing on big cities like Mumbai, Delhi and Chennai. They're not focusing on small towns, because small town people do have a lot of needs which needs to be satisfied. Basically, I believe in remolding the industries, restructuring industries. I do had a plan I discussed with my ma'am that I could, if one can restructure a company and make things easier, it will be more efficient. So I want your thoughts what it is to be like restructuring the current industries.
You are on the perfect track right now. And
Thank you, sir.
your father is very right. So to cater a market, you have to know the market very well. Right? I can think of doing something in rocket science, but I don't know anything about rocket science. So it doesn't make sense. Right? So your father is very right. Tier 2 and 3 cities are the future in India. Because we have been totally neglected. When I say we, I include Lucknow. And that's one of the reasons we as a company, Newgen Apps, came back to Lucknow. And we've had great success here. Similarly, if you just look at UP, right? UP is one of the most backward states in India. But if UP were a country, it would be the 5th largest country in the world in terms of population. Right? All of Australia is 20 million people, UP is 200 million people. Now if you get a UP person paying 1/10 of what an Australian is paying, you get the same amount of money. Right? So it's about reaching the tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities, I would call it, and the unserved markets. Just to give you an example, Flipkart doesn't deliver in Lucknow. Now they're losing a lot of business, right? So there are reasons they don't do that, but you are perfectly on the right track, and this is exactly how I would be thinking if I were to start my business today.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much.
All the best.
Hello, sir.
Hi.
Sir, what are the biggest problems you have faced till now, and how you have come out with it?
Okay. So biggest, you face a problem every day, right? So as I say, I started my company once, I have closed it 1,000 times. So every day somehow I feel it's too much, I should close down. But the next day there's some passion. One of the biggest challenges you can face, I would say, is managing people, right? Because everyone, it's very easy to build a product or a service or do something, but it's all about managing people. Because ultimately, if you have to scale the company, right, you have to understand the people, what their expectations are, and do that. Because you cannot read anyone's mind, right? So the biggest problem probably I faced initially was to get people's expectation, what they want, and like how to cater to that. Fortunately, as I said, Botany keep solving a problem. We figured it out, and now we are doing pretty well. We are considered one of the best places to work in, and so on and so forth. And the second challenge is probably scaling up, right? So now we want to build $1 billion company, and we are some way from it. So my next biggest challenge is how do I scale up? So we are just we are not just thinking we are going to open up offices in US, Australia, and all these places. Now that's a huge challenge because you have to know all the laws and compliance, blah blah blah. So this is something which is outside of my comfort zone, but I have to do.
So one more question.
Yeah, sure.
So if I want to start a new business, so how I can know that the suitable place to start the business? Like which place is suitable to do it? Because like environment like affects the what you are starting. So what is the suitable place to start that business? How we can find that?
That totally depends on the business you do, right? So when just to give my example again, because that's what I know. When I decided to move to Lucknow to build an IT company, people said you are mad. And trust me, when people say you are mad, you are on the right track. So I put it, just think of a place, figure out till someone says you are mad, that's the place.
Seriously?
Seriously. Seriously. See, if I was in Bangalore, right? If I was in Bangalore, I would have I would be fighting with 5,000 other companies for talent, right?
Yes.
My employees would have 5,000 other companies as alternatives. Today, we are in Lucknow. We are being preferred over the best companies for campus recruitments. We are getting the best talent, right? And people from Infosys, Bangalore, Chennai, Cognizant, TCS, they are willing to come back and they have joined us. We have 5 people who joined us from TCS, Infosys, Cognizant in the last year.
That means you are trying to say that we have to start a business where the competition is less.
As I said, it totally depends, but yeah, you cannot.
Because as you said that in Bangalore there are many IT companies, in Lucknow there is no that kind of IT companies. So you have started here, that competition is less out here. So you started out here.
No, but environment is also not there, right? So there are so many other challenges also you have to face. So that's the whole thing about being entrepreneur. It's about the challenge. If there's something which is not challenging, it's not a big opportunity. That means
Yes,
there's
exactly.
somebody already there. So as I said, till someone says you're mad, you're on the right track. Yeah, don't start an agriculture business in a desert. Common sense should be applied.
Thank you, sir.
Assertiveness is also important.
Good evening, sir. Myself, Hilal Hassan. Sir, as you know, sir, traveling is a trend in India right now. Tourism has always been a trend in India. It's a big industry. So, travel, and right now, what is the trend? People are more into adventure. They take their own bikes, they take their own cars and travel to some place. Being myself a traveler, what problem I identified is probably prevailing right now in the traveling industry is there is no repairing shop available everywhere. So what I planned online repairing shop like you can order mechanic. You can call him up. He can come over your place and he can repair the thing and you can just pay him on the spot like cash on delivery. So what you said, you gave an answer to my friend. Ki there should be management of people. There should be people. You should be able to manage people. So what you will suggest me? The vertical. You said vertical. What vertical you will suggest me for this in the industry? What channel I should
Your
try?
vertical is already travel.
Yes.
So basically you are saying you will be building an Uber for mechanics, right?
Yes.
That's a great idea. First, I think you should figure out what is the market size. Second is where you are going to get the mechanics from, right? And how you will be able to incentivize them. Because there is no reason. So I'm stuck in the forest and I call a mechanic and that guy doesn't come. Okay, if I don't get a cab, Ola cancels my ride, I'm fine. But if I'm in the jungle and the mechanic doesn't come. So it's a different thing. And this is exactly the problem. If you can solve that problem, you have got a business. And you can discuss later with me because there's more in terms of strategy, but you have to look at the bigger market size. How big is the market size?
Actually, tourism has always been a bigger market size in India.
I would say the other thing, Indian tourism is a very small industry as compared to other countries. Singapore has a bigger tourist industry than India.
Right now, my industry, my place in India, so I want to be.
Yeah, so we are growing, and that's exactly the thing. You have to be in a growing market, which is good. So you should.
Right now, I don't have capital enough to invest in foreign countries, so I'll start up in India only. So I'm asking you.
But as I said, you just figure out how the logistics, how you're going to get things done, right? How you're going to get the mechanics, how you're going to incentivize them, whether it will work or not, right? So something like that. And that's a more detailed discussion we can have later.
Thank you.
But yeah, so you are on the right track. Travel is a good industry.
Okay.